I want to extend, on behalf of the London Police Service, my sincerest apology to the victim, to her family, for the amount of time that it has taken to reach this point.
Police say they're sorry. An apology and a story capturing the attention of a country and the entire hockey world. Why it's taken 6 years to lay charges against 5 former members of Canada's World Junior team. Good evening. This marks the start of a new phase in the sexual assault case. The proceedings moving to a courtroom.
And police elaborating publicly about their investigation for the first time. We begin our coverage with CTV's Adrian Gabriel.
With a country and sports world watching,
good afternoon.
The London, Ontario Police Service spoke publicly for the first time since charging 5 members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team with sexual assault.
When the case was reopened in 2022, our team explored investigative opportunities. I can confirm that some of this evidence was not available when the investigation concluded in 2019.
But police won't confirm what led them to reopening the case or why it took so long to lay charges.
Cannot answer why. Why it took so long will form part of the proceedings. It's completely inappropriate for me to talk about those details at this time.
Current NHL players Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, Carter Hart, and Michael McLeod, as well as former Ottawa Senator Alex Fermenton, have been charged with sexual assault. McLeod is also facing 1 charge of being party to the offense.
Party to the offense charge is in relation to aiding someone else in committing the offense.
The charges are connected to an alleged group sexual assault of a woman inside this upscale London, Ontario hotel in June of 2018, following a Hockey Canada gala. The case has put hockey culture under the microscope, but police want the focus to remain on the issues of sexual violence.
I'm not a hockey player. I don't know nothing about hockey. This is a sexual assault investigation.
This morning at a London courthouse, defense lawyers for each of the accused appeared virtually on their behalf. The Crown told the court that they'd be sharing a substantial disclosure with the defense teams today, which includes evidence collected by London police.
It seems that the prosecutor has been reviewing evidence on this matter for a while before today's date.
Inside the courtroom, the justice ordered a publication ban on the identity of the alleged victim and 2 witnesses in the case as details slowly emerge.
And Adrian Gabriel joins us live from London now. Adrian, the police chief apologized during that news conference. Does that suggest the police made mistakes in their initial investigation?
Well, police stopped short of admitting any fault today during their press conference, Michelle. As we heard there in the story, we heard from Detective Sergeant Dan, and she said that there was information, there was evidence that they didn't have in 2019 that they do now have. The police chief did note that there is no longer any members from the initial investigation back in 2019 into 2018 into 2019. It is a completely new investigative team now working on this case. Now, I did ask the police chief today why London police are still leading this investigation. If mistakes may have been made, why should they still lead this investigation? Are they perhaps compromising the prosecution? And why haven't they handed this over to another police service? He was adamant that London police remain in charge, that they are well equipped to handle this investigation and will do so moving forward.
Adrian, did we learn any new details about what happened the night of the incident back in June of 2018?
When it came to evidence and any questions around evidence today from London police, they were very tight-lipped, repeatedly saying they did not want to compromise their investigation. Though this is what we do know, Michelle, this is a case which will center around consent. It has been reported multiple times that there is video evidence, that there was video near the beginning of this alleged group interaction where the alleged victim says that she consented to what was about to take place, and then much later on, early into the morning, there was a second video where she appears to consent, though consent needs to be continual. It can't happen before or after an incident takes place. So that will be at the center of the case. We're outside of the London courthouse right now, where this morning I was inside the courtroom and we heard from the prosecution, we heard from defense counsel, and we know that the next hearing will be scheduled for April 30th. And today the Crown was sharing their disclosure, the evidence that police have gathered with defense teams, and that will be gone over over the next 12 weeks.
CTV's Adrian Gobriel live for us in London, Ontario tonight. Thank you. And our coverage of this story continues online. Make sure to visit ctvnewstoronto.ca for updates as they happen. And remember to download the CTV News app.
Straight ahead, the Toronto police officer accused of bad behavior at work. The unsettling allegations against the constable putting workplace culture under the microscope once again.
But first, to developing news from Buckingham Palace being met with shock around the world. King Charles has cancer. The 75-year-old stepping back from his duties to receive treatment.
Doctors making the discovery while the king was undergoing tests for an enlarged prostate, but it's not being specified which form of cancer has been found. CTV's Janice Golding is in studio with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, less than 18 months into his reign, King Charles III is being forced to suspend public duties. However, Buckingham Palace says the king remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. Just last week, King Charles was seen leaving hospital in good spirits after treatment for an enlarged prostate. But hopes His Majesty's health was on the mend were dashed today after Buckingham Palace released a statement indicating the king has cancer.
This is not a cancer related to that, but was discovered in the course of his treatment. So we don't know what form of cancer it is. We don't know how far advanced it is.
Buckingham Palace says His Majesty has now begun a schedule of regular treatments, during which time he has been advised by doctors to postpone public-facing duties, although he will continue to undertake state business and official paperwork as usual.
And the king has taken the step, again, very unusually compared to his late mother and father, of divulging this information to the public.
The level of detail that we are getting is unprecedented. And I think this is a sense of Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, to an extent, trying to stop the leaks.
The statement from the palace said King Charles had chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and to help assist in public understanding for, quote, all those around the world who are affected by cancer.
His Majesty has often spoken publicly in support of cancer patients, their loved ones, and the wonderful health professionals who help care for them.
Since the announcement was made, dignitaries across the globe have been issuing words of encouragement. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeting, for example, I, like Canadians across the country and people around the world, am thinking of His Majesty King Charles III as he undergoes treatment for cancer. We're sending him our very best wishes and hoping for a fast and full recovery. King Charles was officially crowned last May after Queen Elizabeth, his mother, passed away at 96 years of age. Now, the king has indicated he's grateful to his medical team for their swift intervention. Meanwhile, reports indicate that the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, has spoken to his father about his diagnosis and that he will be traveling to the UK in the coming days. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Janice. Still ahead, transferring from GO to the TTC for free, when riders will be able to hop on for one fare and how the tweak could change the cost of your commute. And soccer sticker shock. With Toronto's role in the 2026 World Cup locked in, is the hefty price tag worth it? The finances of FIFA.
Let's head outside for our first look at the forecast. The sun is setting beautiful skyline this hour. We did have a cloudy start, but the sun sure made an appearance today. And mixed with those positive temperatures, it turned out to be quite the nice day weather-wise. That sunset looks lovely. Jessica Smith has your current conditions. More of this to come?
There is, at least for the first half of the week. So if you like the sunshine, the mild winter weather, I've got more of that for you until at least about Thursday. It does get warmer, but we're watching for active weather. Right now, not a lot in the way of any real cloud cover out there. A beautiful end to the day. It's been so long since we've seen those consistent evenings of that beautiful sunset without all that cloud cover. Temperature-wise, we're at -2 through Hamilton, 1 through Niagara, -1 in Peterborough, kind of right around that freezing mark and just below. Still comfortable, though, as we head through the end of our day. Right now towards Pearson through the island, sitting just about 0 or above. Tonight, dropping down to -4, feels like -6, still above seasonal. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast and that active weather on the way. Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Jess. A warning about some of the details in this next story. A Toronto police officer facing discipline amid allegations he watched pornography in a squad car and even chased a female colleague.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, the allegations come with the force's workplace culture closely scrutinized.
It was during a traffic stop outside Toronto Police's 52 Division last March where Constable James Bragg showed another officer a picture of a naked woman on his cell phone and asked him if he liked it, according to allegations filed at the Toronto Police's Discipline Tribunal. A few months before, Bragg was working with another officer called PCY. This document says while PCY was utilizing the workstation of the scout car, you were seated in the passenger seat and watching pornography on your personal cell phone, something that made PCY uncomfortable because you were the senior officer. And walking to a karaoke bar in March, the document says Bragg is alleged to have kicked another officer, PCX, and then slapped her buttocks with your hand. PCX jumped down from the piggyback and began to run, and you chased after her using grabbing motions with your hands. It was only when another member of your platoon yelled at you to stop that you finally stopped. All of it amounting to 4 disciplinary charges of discreditable conduct and 1 of breaking the TPS's code of conduct.
The fact that it's still occurring is troubling. And
lawyer Angelo Shaka, who has represented complainants in other cases, says the allegations come a year and a half after the force acknowledged in a report it had a systemic problem on its hands when it came to sexual harassment at work.
There's a culture in policing that really has not changed. And a culture that's been pervasive for quite a bit of time.
That report was in the wake of successful human rights complaints from officers, including Constable Heather McWilliam. At the time police released that report, the service said it would not pursue individual officers based on data collected in those surveys. Now the TPS says it's following the report's recommendations and even has an anonymous tip line for members to report harassment, saying in a statement, harassment and discrimination have no place in our organization. Bragg's lawyer says nothing has been proven on his case.
We'll be fully addressing it in the tribunal.
Shaka says how Bragg's case proceeds will say a lot about the Toronto Police's culture today. John Woodward, CTV News.
The video is chilling, and so are the details. Footage from a recent rash of robberies across the city. Police now making arrests. CTV's John Musselman is live with more. John.
You're right, Nathan. Frightening experiences for the retail clerks involved in these robberies, but police say they have arrested 4 people in connection with the spree of them. Toronto police released a store security video. It shows 2 men entering a variety store. A suspect in a hoodie walks behind the counter. The store clerk raises his arms in the air. A second suspect climbs over the counter and begins to remove cigarettes from a cupboard. The other man then takes cash from the register. It's over in less than a minute.
3 males will approach the retail establishment. 1 will keep watch at the door. 1 will stay in the vehicle, and the 2 will approach the teller at the retail outlet. The 2 that approach indicated that they were armed with a weapon. In one of the incidents, they actually produced a firearm.
Today, Toronto police announced they have made 4 arrests in 8 separate robberies like the one shown in this video. 3 men from Toronto and 1 man from Ajax were taken into custody. The charges include robbery with a firearm, disguise with intent, and possession of property obtained by crime. Police say the thieves targeted stores from Steeles Avenue in the north to Leslie and Lakeshore in the south, west to Renforth Drive, and east to Don Mills Road. These charges come in the wake of a series of smash and grab robberies at jewelry stores across the GTA. The most recent coming last week inside Yorkdale Mall. 4 suspects are still wanted in that case. There have been similar incidents in Brampton as well. 3 men ransacked a jewelry store back in December at the Bramalea City Centre. It also happened at the Scarborough Town Centre the same month.
We're looking at the complexity of those, and it certainly does concern us. We're working with our partners in the retail sector. We're working with our CPU unit and through the hold-up squad themselves to try and reduce the risk and the harm that these retail robberies are causing.
Investigators say anyone with information about any of these robberies is asked to call Toronto Police or Crime Stoppers. And all 4 accused in this case have appeared in court. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Pierre Poilievre says repeat car thieves should not be allowed to serve their sentence at home watching Netflix. In Brampton today, the Conservative leader outlined what he'd do if elected Prime Minister.
We will increase prison time. mandatory prison time for repeat car thieves from 6 months to 3 years. 2, we will remove eligibility for house arrest if convicted of a motor vehicle theft by way of indictment. 3, we will create a new specific aggravating factor where the offense of motor vehicle theft is committed on behalf of organized crime. And 4, we will repeal catch and release rules in Justin Trudeau's C-75 to ensure repeat offenders get jail and not bail.
Poilievre says he would send auto thieves to prison for at least 3 years for a third conviction. The Liberals are holding an auto theft summit later this week.
If you're a regular transit user, you'll want to pay attention to this. Your trip may be getting cheaper.
Fare integration between networks now including the TTC. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us with more. Siobhan.
Well, this is a plan many years in the making. In fact, we heard Mayor Olivia Chow today joke about it being on the table back when she was a city councillor. This is a plan, though, that the government hopes will get more people onto transit and make them pay less for it.
It's the start of a more seamless transition between GO Transit and the TTC. No more doubling up on fares to get where you're going.
Starting February 26, transit riders will only pay once when transferring between GO Transit, the TTC, and other regional transit agencies in the GTHA.
A lot of other transit agencies have been doing this for over a year, but now the TTC is coming on board. Later this month, if someone were rolling into this station from Barrie,
they will pay GO minus the Barrie fees they already paid, and let's say they come to Downsview and take TTC, they don't pay the TTC fare.
Those taps on and off transit can be painful.
Well, it adds up.
But the government estimates someone commuting 5 days a week on more than one service could save $1,600 a year.
That would be amazing, honestly. Paying for the subway and then the GO is something that a lot of students can't really afford.
I come in from East Gwillimbury, so I take the GO train and then take the TTC and then go to school. So it's a lot of money, it's a $20 per day. So we're going to be saving a lot.
Yeah, I'll be happy. I'm a senior, so I want to save my money.
Toronto's mayor calls this one fare plan a godsend.
When public transit is working well, life is more affordable. More people can choose to leave their cars at home. It becomes less expensive to get around the city, and it reduces the congestions on our roads.
The government's paying $67 million this year to get the program going.
It will lead to over 8 million new rides every year. Most importantly, it'll be a massive savings for transit riders and putting money back into people's pockets where it belongs.
The province hasn't been able to tell us how much they anticipate they'll have to pay to cover fares going forward.
And the TTC estimates it will cost them $40 to $60 million a year to run this program. Again, that's money that the province says it will be reimbursing the TTC for. Reporting live from Downsview Park Station, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Well, the countdown is on until Toronto plays host somewhat to one of the largest sporting events on the planet.
The city already gearing up for its 6 matches at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, single digits. But the price tag is anything but. CTV's Raheem Ladani is live with more. Raheem.
Well, Nathan, the theme for the city of Toronto's FIFA World Cup is the world in a city. But along with the excitement comes quite a bit of skepticism about the cost of the event.
In Toronto,
the announcement heard around the world is already generating buzz in the host city. And it's not just fans of the FIFA World Cup who are eager for 2026.
I think it's probably a good idea. I'm not really a soccer fan, but people who are very enthusiastic. So I think it's a good exposure for Toronto to be involved in that.
I like that I live so close and this stuff, it'll be busy down here. There's probably a lot of opportunity for people to rent out their apartments.
Teams from around the world will be exposed to Toronto's multiculturalism beginning June 12th, with Team Canada taking the pitch at BMO Field in its 3rd ever World Cup appearance.
I'm so excited for the youth of this country to be able to see the biggest stars and to be able to see their own national team in the first game, in the opening game. That's that's going to be amazing.
With more than 300,000 anticipated visitors, the city is expected to create more than 3,500 jobs and generate nearly $400 million in revenue.
For an economy that's still trying to recover post-COVID, a big event like this is a boost to our city, from a cultural perspective, from a social perspective, from an economic perspective.
This world stage event, though, comes with a hefty price tag that just got bigger. The province previously committed $97 million, contingent on the federal government matching, which it hasn't done yet, while Toronto City Hall said it would fund the final third. However, those cost projections were based on Toronto hosting 5 matches, not the now confirmed 6. The city is now recalculating the costs, saying, as with any major event, the city is working with our partners to balance costs and benefits to ensure that any public investment in hosting the World Cup in Toronto yields significant benefits and legacies for Torontonians.
I'm just thinking of like Olympic cities, when they go bankrupt for hosting them, and so maybe not the best time.
And at a time when taxpayers are being forced to pay a record high property tax increase,
There's probably a lot of other things that should take priority in the city, especially housing, things like that. It obviously is a big issue, especially for lower income.
Mixed feelings on if the city should be playing host to the world before looking after its own residents. One of the biggest renovations that will take place leading up to the World Cup is here at BMO Field, where more than 17,000 temporary seats will be installed to help increase the seating capacity to up to 45,000. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Raheem. The mild weather we've seen for much of the winter is making the ice unpredictable north of the city.
And CTV's Rob Cooper reports, despite relentless warnings from police, there are still plenty of people venturing out onto the ice, some facing fatal consequences.
I still ask before I go out. I'll even get a hold of a couple of the hut guys, the rentals, and talk to them.
There are several spots on Lake Simcoe that have police very concerned tonight. Thin and inconsistent ice has been behind several rescues by police and others in recent days.
We've had a number of machines go through, a number of people that have ended up in the water.
This video is shot and sent to us by Brent LaValle near Thor Island on Lake Simcoe. He, like many people in the area, say the ice is just not consistent enough.
It's not good right now.
Tom Carr with Fatal Force Outfitters has lived next to and worked on Lake Simcoe in Orillia for years. He says he's stunned to see people going out there today.
We've pulled 6 machines out so far, but it's almost daily as far as anywhere from North Bay all the way down to Lake Simcoe here where we're at right now.
The inconsistent ice is being seen on most lakes in the area. Police snapped these pictures in Penetanguishene Bay. Not as many people out on Kempenfelt Bay today, but there are still many people venturing out. Bear Point Fish Hut Rentals in nearby Innisfil still has all of its huts on land. Its owner says he's not sure when and even if he'll get out this year.
Places like Cook's Bay might have 9-10 inches, and then not even a mile from where you are on the ice, you only have 2 inches or maybe even an inch of ice in certain spots. Lake Simcoe is a big body of water. It has to be treated like 3 to 4 separate lakes all on its own.
We are asking the police stay off. We have a very strong assertion that we will be called out again.
Now, York Regional Police say 2 people were pulled from the lake this weekend, while both were pulled to safety. One did pass a few hours later in hospital. Meanwhile, ice hut operators are encouraging anyone who does venture out to make sure they take the proper safety gear to survive, just in case they go through. Rob Cooper, CTV News, next to Lake Simcoe.
Nova Scotia is asking for federal help following a major storm over the weekend.
I assure you, we will dig out. It will take time, but we will dig out. But it's certainly been a historic snow event.
The province is asking the Trudeau government for heavy equipment to help with snow removal. The province hasn't seen such a powerful storm in almost 20 years. It dumped heavy snow across the eastern half of the mainland. And in Cape Breton, where local states of emergency have been issued, more than 100 centimeters of snow has piled up in the Sydney area since Friday.
California is also being pounded by a historic storm. Boulders and mud barreled down hillsides. Trees and electrical lines came crashing down. More than 1 million people in the state lost power. The storm was the second one in days, fueled by an atmospheric river. Up to 20 centimeters of rain is forecast over the next 2 days across southern, coastal, and valley areas. 35 centimeters are possible in the foothills and mountains. Parts of Los Angeles were hit with record rain today.
Alberta's premier was in Ottawa today, opening a provincial office in the nation's capital, but she spent much of the time answering questions about her government's policy changes concerning transgender youth.
We are going to be putting forward policy in the fall to make sure that we create a few guidelines so that we can do a more rigorous process. As I mentioned, we'll be supporting transgender adults in their journey. We'll be supporting families so that they can have the journey with their loved one as well. And in addition, we're going to just make sure that there's a bit more rigor in our school system as we talk about these kinds of really difficult topics.
Danielle Smith announced last week a planned ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for children 15 and younger who've not already begun those treatments. Other changes would include requiring parents to give consent for kids 15 and under to go by a different name or pronoun at school.
Overseas in Gaza, Hamas has begun to reemerge in some of the most devastated areas after Israeli forces pulled back. Israel insists its operations will continue for many months until it has full control over the entire territory. Officials say the offensive will eventually reach Rafah on the Egyptian border. That's where 1.5 million Palestinians have sought refuge. Egypt has said an Israeli deployment along the border would threaten the peace treaty the two countries signed more than 40 years ago. The overall Palestinian death toll from nearly 4 months of war is over 27,000.
The U.S. Secretary of State met with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince in Riyadh today. Antony Blinken was there to press ahead with a potential ceasefire deal, as well as tamp down regional tensions while discussing post-war planning. It's his 5th visit to the Middle East since the outbreak of the war. Saudi officials have said the kingdom is still interested in normalizing relations with Israel at some point, but only if there's a credible plan to create a Palestinian state.
Coming up on CTV News, preparing for the Artemis II mission behind the scenes at the Canadian Space Agency as astronaut Jeremy Hansen trains for his historic journey to the moon.
The above seasonal weather not going anywhere as we settle into the first full week of February. Not quite record breaking. We're not quite up to that 8.9 degrees that we saw back in 1962, but we're getting close as we head in towards the end of the week. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long range forecast showing you just how warm it's going to get, some rain on the way, all those details. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It's a sort of journey would-be astronauts can only dream of, a trip to the moon.
At the Canadian Space Agency, preparations are underway for the Artemis II mission. CTV's Christine Long reports.
Demonstrations and tests we need to do while we're
counting down to the Artemis II launch. Nothing is left to chance for the Canadian Space Agency astronauts and their equipment.
Our contribution to Gateway is going to be a space robotics system, the Canadarm3.
Ken Podwalski explains some steps to the lunar science.
So the Gateway is an aggregation point for crew and supplies to put together the missions to do repeated trips down to the lunar surface.
Using VR to visualize the International Space Station and the missions to come. Despite close quarters, astronauts need to exercise in space to stave off the negative effects of living in microgravity, says Natalie Hirsch.
Start losing muscle, start losing strength, your bones start to demineralize, and your cardiovascular system loses fitness as well.
Yuan Zhang demonstrates the resistance training astronauts do every day in space, full body movements to maximize their time and efforts. Astronauts have health training in order to care for each other. Annie Martin explains their remote healthcare technology in case of the unexpected.
What we need to be chief medical officers.
How many calories do you burn during a spacewalk? Astronaut intake and energy expenditure is quantified and planned. The Artemis II menu is limited, yet includes curry shrimp, cookies, and granola bars.
You'll notice that a lot of these products are quite sticky. And the main reason for that is that we don't want to have crumbs floating around in the capsule because they're very difficult to control.
And control is something planned for every step of the way for the journey to the moon.
I feel very proud when I see the first images from the Artemis I flyby around the moon, and I feel very proud when I see Jeremy and the crew for Artemis II. I mean, that's a really wonderful thing for Canada.
Jeremy Hansen is already thinking beyond the moon to Mars.
I love the mystery of Mars. There's something extraordinary there. We're learning with the rovers that we're sending, the little helicopter we've had. I mean, we're learning a lot, but the more we learn, the more we're like, what really happened here? It seems like this planet used to have a thicker atmosphere. It used to have water on the surface, maybe running water. What happened to this planet, and what can it teach us about our own?
He says the genius on Earth will help Artemis II explore deep space and bring back new knowledge to terra firma. Christine Long, CTV News.
All right, to the forecast. We've seen snow in other parts of the country, but still nothing here.
Still the greenish grass. It's amazing how long this stretch of mild conditions, and even January was so mild, and here we go, it continues.
Every time we've had snow, it's been followed up by rain and really mild temperatures. So what is left is that kind of like hard, crusty snow at the edge of the parking lot, that you see towards the end of the winter season. We're still right in the middle of it, and we're not really looking at snow in the, short or long range forecast. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. If you have any friends in Halifax or out towards Atlantic Canada, you know anybody out there, you've seen all the snow that they've got, and they've got winter and then some. Here, it's looking more like spring, although we are still about a month or so away from the official start of the spring season. But temperature-wise, we're still very mild. We are looking at active weather towards the end of the week, but falling more as rain. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 0, feels like -4, really comfortable, a very light kind of northerly flow to the wind throughout the day, even up towards northern Ontario. They're not dealing with that extreme cold. We ran that story just a moment ago. The water just isn't frozen in the same way, so safety is so important when it comes to any big bodies of water. Temperature-wise tonight, dropping down to -4. It'll feel like -6. Areas east of us, so say Peterborough, Kingston, they're still pretty chilly. Those, double-digit wind chill values are holding on. As we head into the day tomorrow, more mild weather, more sunshine. We're looking at a daytime high of 3, so it's not wildly above seasonal, not record-breaking, but it is still above where we should be. There's really not much going on the satellite and radar picture. This is going to carry us right through to about the middle of the week, and then things change just a little. There's a low making its way in as we head into the day tomorrow, but that's likely to stay a little further north of us. Getting through the rest of our night, just a few light clouds. Your Tuesday, more sunshine on the way. Really not a lot to write home about. This is a fantastic forecast, very spring-like. As we head in towards the day on Wednesday, again, there's that system that makes its way in. That stays towards Parry Sound, Bancroft, and then out towards Ottawa. We really don't experience any of that here in the GTA. The next chance for active weather is towards Thursday evening. Temperature-wise, the greens, the yellows, the oranges, those are really mild temps, and we're holding on to those as we head into the middle of the week. And by Friday, we could be up to about 8 degrees. Temperature-wise, it's a slow but steady climb. Lots of sunshine, warm weather as we head in towards our Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, that's where things start to change. We're watching for the chance of active weather to roll in late Thursday. It carries us into our Friday morning, so likely a soggy commute to work on Friday. Not a washout of a day, but keep the umbrella handy. Your weekend stays mild, although not a ton of brilliant sunshine, and the chance, I'm talking the chance of snow is in towards next Monday, but that is really light flurries, and because it's warm, melting on contact. Nathan.
All right, thank you, Jess. Also tonight, we don't have the snow to even toboggan, but in Muskoka, a man's backyard winter tradition is going strong. We'll take you to his homemade snow tube slide, drawing visitors from all around. A Canadian-developed online tool is proving to be helpful for hospitals,
helping physicians choose the right medications and fight antibiotic resistance. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
When amoxicillin and many liquid pediatric antibiotics were on back order last year, the First Line app was there to help with information about alternatives, dosing, and more.
Particularly the amoxicillin, which is our first-line option for Group A strep. So that's really was important to get that information out.
Hospitals like Sick Kids subscribe to First Line, and the app is free to its doctors and other staff. And the content each hospital gets is different depending on what city they're in and their patient base, whether pediatric or other. It can also be used by community doctors to determine which drug is the best for each patient. Michael Long says it was created to streamline all the information that used to overwhelm clinicians.
Healthcare providers need to take into account a whole multitude of factors ranging from individual patient factors to epidemiology, pharmacology, cost, new research, and frequently these complicated decisions are being made by non-infectious disease experts.
Long says broad spectrum or even unnecessary medications are often prescribed out of caution.
In fact, in Canadian hospitals, up to 50% of antimicrobials that are prescribed can be unnecessary or inappropriate.
And that can lead to adverse drug reactions, opportunistic infections, and in the long run, build up antimicrobial resistance in the individual and beyond.
Antimicrobial resistance is a global pandemic. It's associated with 5 million deaths a year globally. Already, today, roughly a quarter of bacterial infections resist the first attempt at treatment. And these infections, of course, they cost lives, but they also cost the Canadian healthcare system and economy about $3 billion a year.
In adult world, there's been a push towards less is better, that shorter courses are probably better than longer courses.
Sick Kids pharmacist Kat Timberlake says tools like First Line are helping to cut back on unnecessary antibiotics. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Studies reveal new information about the link between viruses and neurological damage. It's been widely believed viral infections are directly responsible for damage to the neurological system. But researchers at McMaster University say the Zika virus shows that a unique population of cells in the immune system actually causes the damage. The discovery could help scientists find treatment for neurological issues sparked by viruses.
Manulife Financial Corp is switching gears on a decision that sparked criticism and calls for change. The insurance provider prompted backlash after signing an exclusive arrangement with Loblaw. It said patients who require specialty drugs could only get them filled at pharmacies owned by the grocery giant. Now, Manulife says those prescriptions can be filled at any pharmacy. It says it is implementing the change quickly.
There are just 2 games on the schedule tonight as the NHL resumes play after the All-Star break, and Toronto is playing in one of them.
In front to Tavares. Matthews scores. There's number 40. There's point number 600.
The Buds beat Winnipeg in their last game more than a week ago. Tonight, the Leafs welcome the Islanders to town. The Leafs have won 3 straight. New York has lost 3.
Just under 2 minutes remaining here for the first period, and here's Matthews.
Meanwhile, Austin Matthews has been named one of the NHL's 3 stars of the week. The centerman was named most valuable player after tallying 4 points to lead his team to victory at the All-Star game on Saturday. The 26-year-old leads the league with 40 goals in 46 games. The other 2 stars named are Connor McDavid and Alex DeBrincat.
One possession game. Giddy right to the iron and a foul on Barnes.
And the Raptors will look to regroup tonight after a tough loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Toronto gave up a 23-point lead to the Western Conference leaders, losing in double overtime last night. They're in New Orleans tonight. The Pelicans have won 2 straight and are 7th in the West.
And how about this? For the first time, the NBA will play on glass. It's going to happen this month at All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis. A state-of-the-art video LED floor will be installed at Lucas Oil Stadium. It will be used for the skills competition, 3-point contest, and slam dunk competition. The floor will show replays, stats, and other real-time information and images. But the actual All-Star game on February 18th will remain on a wooden court.
The province of Quebec is spending $870 million on the Big O. The money will go toward replacing the roof of Montreal's Olympic Stadium. They insist the new roof will help keep the facility open year-round and could double the number of paying visitors to the tourist site. Right now, events are canceled if more than 3 centimeters of snow are expected to fall. Officials say the stadium will have to close completely within 2 years if nothing is done. It was built for the 1976 Summer Olympics.
Part-time believer.
That's the name of the Strumbella's new album, and we'll be chatting to members of the group on the next CP24 breakfast,
where Toronto gets its everything every morning.
Cannot answer why it took so long will form part of the proceedings.
Updating our top stories, police in London apologized today to the victim of an alleged sexual assault. The chief said it should not have taken so long to lay charges against 5 members of Canada's 2018 junior hockey team. The case has been adjourned to April 30th.
The level of detail that we are getting is unprecedented.
And I think this is a sense of Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, to an extent, trying to stop the leaks.
The King has begun a schedule of regular treatments as an outpatient after being diagnosed with cancer. It's unclear what type. He is postponing public duties, but will continue with state business and official paperwork. The palace says the monarch looks forward to returning to full public duty.
I think it's probably a good idea. I'm not really a soccer fan, but people who are very enthusiastic, so I think it's a good exposure for Toronto to be involved in that.
The hosting of 6 World Cup matches in Toronto in 2026 is expected to generate nearly $400 million in revenue and create more than 3,500 jobs. Over 300,000 visitors are expected. In business, banks and investment firms surveyed by the Bank of Canada are anticipating there could be a recession this year. With more, here's Jacqueline Hansen from BNN Bloomberg.
How likely is it that there will be a recession in Canada this year? Well, according to a new Bank of Canada survey, the big financial firms in this country forecast there's a 50-50 chance over the next 6 months. The Bank of Canada has been trying to slow the economy down enough to cool inflation, but not so much to cause unnecessary pain or a recession. A major risk the market participants think could slow the economy further would be if the housing market proves to be weaker than many anticipate this year. But lower interest rates later this year are expected to fuel more buying and selling in the housing market. And the survey suggests interest rates could fall from 5% to 4% by the end of this year. Well, let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is trading lower, almost half a cent to 73.86 cents US. West Texas Intermediate oil gained 50 cents to almost $73 US a barrel. And our latest look at Western Canadian Select shows a decline of $1 to roughly $53 US a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX slid 213 points to end the day at 20,871.89. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of BNN Bloomberg.
Boeing has discovered another problem in some of its 737 MAX planes. Improperly drilled holes have been identified in the aircraft's fuselage. The company says the issue does not affect the safety of MAX jets that are already flying, but some planes that have not yet been delivered to airlines will need to be reworked. The problem could delay the delivery of about 50 aircraft. Earlier this year, an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 jet was forced to make an emergency landing when a door plug blew out of the side of the plane.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
A spectacular display is lighting up the Scandinavian night.
More than 50 installations have been turned on at the Copenhagen Light Festival. Organizers say it is the largest light art display in Europe. The artworks have been set up across various districts of the Danish capital, but they are all connected by the artwork, the green beam. It is a green laser that slices through the sky for more than 3.5 kilometers. Up to 300,000 people visit the Light Festival annually. The installations will be open for all to see for the next 3 weeks.
Just ahead, a Muskoka man takes backyard fun to an exciting extreme. We visit his 1,000-foot snow tubing run, drawing visitors from afar.
Tonight from London, Ontario, where police say they're sorry in a sexual assault case against former World Junior hockey players.
And why?
I'm apologizing to the victim and to her family because it's taken this long.
Full coverage tonight on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, working dawn until dusk to bring joy to his community.
The Muskoka man who's converted his backyard into one heck of a ride. Here's CTV's Catalina Gillies.
Every winter for the last decade, Huntsville resident Mike Barrett has converted his backyard into a 1,000-foot snow tube slide.
I love it when I hear the screams of joy out of the kids and adults. It's a riot.
I came with my dad because we wanted to have fun. Me and Javin almost fell off, and it was really funny.
How fast do you like to go?
as fast as I can.
The 72-year-old does it all on his own. This year, it took him a week and a half to complete, getting up at early hours to work on the run.
Sometimes I get up at 3 and then Kathy goes, you know, some mornings I would like to sleep until 3 or till 6.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy, the work that he puts into it. A lot of it is hand shoveled.
It started out as a fun thing to do for family and friends, but as word got out, Barrett decided to open it up to the community.
We have people from Hamilton and Niagara Falls. They have cottages up here, and they come up and they go sliding.
And each run takes about 30 seconds to complete. Barrett doesn't charge admission, wanting to make winter fun more accessible to families.
Word gets out, people come in, and I say it's free. We don't want any gifts. Just take your kids to Kawartha Dairies and buy them an ice cream cone and enjoy.
I brought my 2.5-year-old up the hill. His first time going down, he was loving it.
Even with the long hours of work, Barrett says it's given him a sense of purpose every winter.
Sometimes when I'm shoveling, I go, what am I doing out here? And then when you hear them and the fun they're having, it's worth it.
After 9 years, Barrett says this will be his last year making the snow tube slide. However, he says the memories will last a lifetime. Catalina Gillies, CTV News, Huntsville.
I think we're a little jealous. I think we're snow deprived. We wouldn't mind a little snow, but there's none in the forecast.
None. If you got skis for Christmas, you got a snow tube for Christmas, you're not really able to use it. The long-range forecast doesn't call much for snow either, so I don't have great news when it comes to winter weather, but I can promise you some sunshine. We have more of it on the way as we head in towards the middle of the week. Temperatures only get warmer as well, so if there's any snow left in the GTA, a lot of it likely to melt. Thursday up to 7 degrees, by Friday 8, but we're watching for showers. There is snow in the long-range forecast, but it's not much, and it will be mild.
Thank you, Jessica. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Natalie Johnson with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.